No, no. If everyone can return to their seats, please. We I appreciate everyone sticking around for the whole conference. I know every time I talk to Jason Kint, who's going to wrap up the conference for us, I learn a ton. He is an expert in the media industry. Should disclose I am the Capital Forum is a member of Digital Content Next. I get to see Jason firsthand as, in my opinion, one of the most thoughtful, effective, and intelligent advocates in Washington. Period. He's incredible, and you really, I mean, as someone who's grown up in Washington, I actually don't meet that many people in the. I'm going to try to say this delicately, who actually know about business and do lobbying. I mean, there's a lot of people in here like that, but like in Washington generally, that is an anomaly. People who lobby, they know people, but they don't know anything about business. And the business people, they know the business, they need the connections. But Jason has just deep expertise, and I'm thrilled that he's going to be wrapping up the conference. When he's done, we're going to have a happy hour at Hamilton, so hopefully you can just hop across the street and join us. Please give Jason a warm welcome. Thanks.
Thank you, Teddy, for that warm remarks. My job's been easy here. I was told just to come speak the truth in D.C., and that's what I've been doing for the decade. And when they kick me out, they kick me out. But that's my approach. I got the business experience for 20 years. Come here and try to be honest with everyone about what's going on. And certain times people call me on it, and I try to correct it. So thank you to the Capital Forum for putting on this very informative event. It's a very, very timely event ahead of next week's trial. Teddy asked me to get up, close remarks also, and maybe tease out a little bit ahead for next week. And so I did enjoy the panel discussion. It was interesting. I don't know exactly what they're thinking, having me come back up, but here we go. Here we are. So I have the stage. Trying to compete in the advertising market, I try to explain things in lay terms, with Google is a bit like trying to play poker with someone who not only knows everyone's cards, all the cards in everyone's hands, but also gets to set the rules. They get to decide the bet, steal the cards, et cetera, and they get to take a significant percentage of the winnings, 30, 35%. It's been hard to believe. It's been about a decade since we launched DCN and we started sounding the alarm. As you likely know, and I mentioned, DCN was purpose-built to focus on the future of trusted entertainment, to advocate for premium publishers who trust us to understand and to help support their business to make sure we have a future that funds trusted news and entertainment. Back then in 2014, as the digital advertising industry was booming, everybody was celebrating, often growing by 15 to 20% per year. So to give you some sense for the numbers, back a decade ago, the industry was growing 15 to 20% per year. We noticed something disturbing. We have access to a lot of data through our members and the industry, and we said, almost all the incremental revenue growth that's happening in this industry, even though it's growing 15 to 20%, it's almost all being captured by two companies, Google and Facebook. And it wasn't just simply because they were competing on the merits with a better advertising business. They certainly were attempting to, but it was due to an unprecedented access to data, which, yes, many now rightly call surveillance advertising. That has made its way, and it's a common term for it now. So that brings us to why we're here today, the ad tech antitrust case. United States versus Google 2 is the way it's been called. It started with investigations 6 years ago, I think it's important to remember. That's how long it's taken, and some really, really, I think, sharp experts digging in a way that I think has been unimaginable a decade ago. It was started by the Trump administration. I think that is an important point. It's about to kick off in the Eastern District of Virginia over the next month. So why this case? Why are we so locked in on this one on behalf of the publishers? Why do we think it's so monumental? Well, it's laser focused on Google's dominance over the entire advertising stack, as we've been talking about, over the entire supply chain, which funds most of its operations, particularly through the software and data that fuel the real-time auction live auction marketplace. When we explain this case, and we heard this earlier today, we often use Google's own metaphor from their own employee, comparing it to the stock market. It's an easy way to understand it, so much so that, yes, the AAG did use that in his remarks when they announced the complaint. So yes, picture a stock market, but instead of buying shares, companies are buying advertising space. Publishers use the ad servers to display the ads. Ad exchanges act as the auction marketplaces where these ads are bought and sold. And then advertiser DSPs help advertisers manage and bid on their ad campaigns. It's as simple as that. Now imagine if one company controlled not just the stock market, but also, yes, the brokers, the trading floor, and even the rules of the game. That's essentially what Google has done in the ad tech industry. It's that simple. That's what needs to be explained in the trial. They dominate every single part of the stack, from the ad server to the exchange to the buy side, the DSP, creating massive conflicts of interest. Conflicts of interest, that's what this is all about. It didn't come up in the last panel. I'm going to give you 3 reasons why this all matters: market power, data, and the abuse of both. First, market power. Google's influence is not just limited to one part of the market, right? It spans the entire ad tech supply chain. The recent search antitrust case decision from DC determined that Google controls 98% of the mobile search queries. That's not being talked about enough going into the ad tech case. Let that sink in. 98% of the queries on mobile. Judge Mehta didn't only rule that Google has a monopoly in search. We keep hearing that they have a monopoly in search, but they also have a monopoly in search text advertising. So this trial next week will start not just with allegations of a monopoly. It starts with another district court having already clearly stated that Google has monopoly power over the advertising demand that fuels the open web. That's what they walk in with, along with a judge that's going to have inferences against all of the witnesses that they purged evidence, which is it's a tough. I'd be curious what our friend in the end of panel would set the odds for now versus before that. But Google's reach doesn't just stop there. They dominate over 91, I haven't heard this stat today, over 91% of the ad server market for publishers. So again, to make it crystal clear, that's well north of 90% control over the advertising demand coming in, and it's over 90% over the ad server software on the sell side going out, with significant market power over the exchanges in between. So second, the role of data. We heard a lot about that in the last panel. Data is absolutely the lifeblood of this case. The Department of Justice claims that Google sees over 86% of advertising transactions. I love the word sees that they used. 86% of the transactions they see. This gives Google access to a treasure trove of information no other company can possibly match. It allows Google to collect and leverage effectively what I would call insider information across the high-frequency trading of advertising. If you're looking for a sequel to the Michael Lewis film Flash Boys, I think this may be possibly one. And Google's quote-unquote G-Trade unit, which you may hear about, would maybe be the stars in that sequel. And here's where it gets more interesting and more concerning. Google's control of this data lets them dictate the rules of the marketplace and target users with unmatched precision. We saw this with Google projects like Narnia 2, which Josh actually referenced earlier in 2016, this pivotal moment where Google broke its promises. And they removed all privacy guardrails. They merged user data across its ecosystem. They merged PII with search data, with Chrome browsing data, with location data, with Android data, and ad tech data. We just learned a few weeks ago that it's called Narnia 2 was the project, to further consolidate its market power. This created a significant imbalance, raising serious concerns about fairness and competition. Third, the abuse of dominance. The big isn't necessarily bad point. Let's talk about that. Google's control over data isn't just about collecting information. It's about how they use it to maintain their dominance. Here in the US, it's not just about monopoly power that gets the DOJ poking around, but it's the abuse of that power. We're going to see a wealth of evidence over the next 4 weeks, much of it under project code names We heard a few of them earlier. It will be Perot, Bernanke, Bell, Jedi. The list goes on. It'll be fascinating to try to keep up. There's a group, by the way, it's a little plug, but over at Check My Ads, and I think ALP has been supportive of this. They've actually created a website called usvgoogleads.com, which I keep seeing things surface on. So explanations, glossaries, information. So if you are interested in the case, I highly recommend that website, along with, of course, Capitol Forum and all the reporters that will be there covering the case. Let's pause for a quick moment on Jedi, Google's codename project to kill header bidding. I'm using Facebook's description of what the project was for. It was to kill header bidding. A software solution that was going to open up auctions, competition, in exchanges, and it posed an immediate threat to Google and their 20% rake on their own exchange. In the Texas AG complaint, we learned about even a flavor of it called Jedi Blue that also hasn't come up today. The internal code name for Google's secret deal with Facebook, signed by their respective presidents of the companies. The alleged terms required Facebook not to compete with Google in header bidding. In return, Facebook received advantages, according to the allegations, in data to help Facebook match their own users and actually have a first look at their own users. And it helped Facebook, I think it's important, think about Flash Boys, with the timing of the bids to actually give them an advantage on the bidding in terms of the timing. It was a secret handshake between two of the biggest players in the game, ensuring that competition would vanish. Google Communications and PR has been telling the press recently, weeks ago, that these allegations are no longer part of the antitrust case. Interesting spin. Meanwhile, state AGs, including Texas, have been flying to the UK and they deposed witnesses about it. They also deposed Sundar Pichai about it. So in the last few months, I don't think anybody realizes that. They've been saying that it's dead. I'm not sure why Google's spraying this false information, but that Facebook employee, who people don't really know his name, is actually on the Justice Department's witness list for the next month. I'm curious. So there's one of the little Easter eggs to look out for. But this isn't just about market manipulation. It's about the collusion, the alleged collusion, between two giants to stifle innovation and maintain their grip on the industry. Whether it's through timing of auctions, whether it's through moving margins, or tying different parts of the supply chain together, Google's actions show a clear pattern of behavior aimed at entrenching its position and keeping everyone else out. So let's finally circle back to our stock market comparison. As we shift to remedy discussions in some of these cases, I do want to introduce everyone to the America Act, Senator Lee and Klobuchar's prescient and very bipartisan legislation. It was purpose-built for the allegations in this trial. It dictates that ad tech companies of a certain size can't operate on both sides of the market. Fairly common sense. The next largest companies, which are still measured in billions, have a best interest duty to the clients on each side of the market. More common sense. DCN made a 2-minute explainer when the bill was introduced, and I hope it helps simplify, if I haven't done that myself, to explain the issues we're going to be tracking over the next 4 weeks, along with the legislation that some of the folks in this room can put front and center to address the situation, maybe even more immediately than the courts. Let me just pop this up. And we're hoping this can work. I think this is our first video show today.
Online advertisements power the free internet. But the current system for buying and selling online ads is broken. While ad tech companies make huge profits, publishers and advertisers get squeezed and high costs are passed on to American consumers. How is this happening? Well, just like stocks, digital ads are sold through brokers on exchanges. But Wall Street's rules to protect investors don't apply to ad markets. In ad markets, the brokers that buy and sell ads, and even the exchange itself, are often all controlled by the same company. It's like being in a lawsuit where your lawyer is also your opponent's lawyer, and also the judge. For instance, when a small business buys ads on its local newspaper's website, they trust that their brokers are getting them the best price possible. But the brokers are free to engage in insider trading. They sell ads for more than they claim, pocket the difference, and exploit their clients' data. They force ad trades to their own exchange even if a rival's is cheaper, and they charge middleman fees of up to 30 to 50%. In a competitive stock trade, fees are less than 1%. That's because we enacted common sense rules for financial markets nearly a century ago to promote competition, require transparency, and prevent conflicts of interest. Now it's the digital economy's turn. Passing the Bipartisan America Act in Congress will force brokers to act with integrity in their clients' interest. Don't let ad tech companies make you pay more for goods and services and jeopardize your favorite free content. If you care about a fair and free internet, share this video to support the new bill.
So hopefully that was helpful in simplifying the market. And also I think it does get on the point that it's not just about Google. You need the best interest obligations for publishers and advertisers too. I'll end with this. This case matters, I say that emphatically, more than my 30 years of digital media working on the open web. It's because this isn't just about one company. It's about the future of fair and competitive marketplace for advertising, the lifeblood of the open web. Yes, this case is both related to and different from the Google search trial case, but in both cases, scale matters and data is king. The outcome of this trial will have profound implications on the future of digital advertising, the journalism and the entertainment it funds, and more broadly for the role of data in our economy. We're at a critical moment. Yes, nearly a decade ago, we saw the growing power of Google and Facebook. Fueled by their unprecedented access to data, today we're seeing the consequences of that power play out in real time. This trial isn't just about holding one company accountable. It's about setting the stage for a more open and competitive marketplace where innovation can thrive. The decisions made here will resonate far beyond the courtroom. They'll shape the future of the digital economy. Thank you.